This is Veronica Pierce from Star Wars Crusade of the Rebellion, and you are listening to the My Stuttering Life podcast hosted by Pedro Pena. So, let's get started.
What's up, guys? This is Pedro from My Stuttering Life, where you will hear the good, the bad, the very ugly. We're gonna laugh, we're gonna cry, but through it all, just know that you are not alone. So, let's get started. This is episode number 43, and my guest is James Hayden. This is part 2 of our conversation as we discuss his TED Talk and dive into his new book titled Dear World, I Stutter. Welcome back, James Hayden.
Thank you for having me again, Pedro. I appreciate it.
You have no idea how excited I am to talk about your TED Talk and your book. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
Okay, so your TED Talk, how did that come about?
So giving a TED Talk has been on my bucket list since probably June of 2018. And it's one of those things I thought if it ever did happen, it would happen in many, many years. So I would always have the application open on my computer, but I never, filled it out because of self-doubt. Like I would always tell myself, like, what do you have to say that's worth spreading? So even though it was up there, I never filled it out. And then in February of 2018, of 19, excuse me, my company sent out an email saying that they were hosting the first ever TEDx event. And my first response was, holy crap, I need to apply for this. Like, this is opportunity for a dream to come true. But once again, self-doubt entered the picture, and I was doubting myself and my abilities, and like, what idea do I have that's worth spreading? So that's kind of how I was for about a week or two. And then I had a chance meeting with one of the people that was putting on the event. And I gave him my elevator pitch. He said, I like it, and encouraged me to apply. So I did, because what was the worst thing that could happen? They could say no. Okay. So I applied, and I made it through the first round. And then I had a 5-minute phone interview where I had to pitch my idea. And I did that, but I didn't think I was that great. So I figured, okay, I didn't make it, but I can say that I tried. And if they do this, next year, I can try again. But to my surprise, I made it past the phone interview. And the second interview was a panel interview. It was myself and 2 other people interviewed me over Skype. And that was another 5-10 minute interview where I had to give my speech in a 3-minute format. And then we talked about the logistics of the event. And then after that interview, I once again felt I did my best, but I didn't think I was going to get picked. So I said, okay, I tried, and I'm okay with it if I don't get it. And then lo and behold, I got an email in April of this year saying that I was one of the 12 picked. And I was surprised and excited. And then once that sunk in, I was terrified, because I'm giving a TED Talk to 300 of my colleagues that will be live streamed and archived for everyone that ever works at my company to see. So that is how I was picked.
Wow, that is truly awesome. That is also on my bucket list. I I I have already applied multiple times, so I am always hopeful. I am always positive that I will be picked, and wherever is a TED Talk, I mean, it doesn't matter. If I have to, if I really have to, I can fly to Australia.
Mhm.
I know that that's a long way, but it's okay. I'll
Yeah.
go anywhere.
It's worth it. For me, it is one that was one of the most like exciting, nerve-wracking, and terrifying things I've ever done in my life. But I would do it again.
So, talk about how did you feel walking onto the stage with with 300 people and 600 eyes watching you?
Um, I was probably the most nervous I had been in a very, very long time. So leading up to it, the hour bit beforehand, I was backstage with the other speakers that were in my session, and I was trying to use every relaxation technique that I had learned in speech therapy. That was not working. I was trying to calm myself down. That was not working. I was pretty much a bundle of nerves for an hour, and I was right before lunch, so I had the entire morning to think about it. And it was I was nervous. I was pacing back and forth. I could not sit still for the life of me. And the person who was directly before me couldn't tell you what he talked about in the moment. I had to go back and rewatch his TED talk because I was such a bundle of nerves that maybe like the 10 minutes beforehand was a complete and utter a blur to me. But it was then it got to be to be of my turn. I walked on stage. I stepped on the red dot. I took a deep breath and just told myself it's going to come out the way it's going to come out, and it's going to be okay. And then
How
I proceeded to give my TED talk over the next 5 minutes and stuttered the most I had stuttered in years because I was nervous, excited, and beyond terrified. But I did it.
how cool. Now, how did you handle having a block?
Uh, so I just I I handled it. I said the fact that I stuttered within my third or fourth sentence, so everyone knew, and that was the basis of my talk, which was uh, embracing my vulnerability and like how I went from seeing my stutter as something negative and something that I was embarrassed about to now something that I embrace. So I stuttered openly. I made sure to keep eye contact with my audience during my blocks and my starting moments because I wanted them to see to to truly see me. I did not want to hide my stutter from them.
So, so you are on stage, you are in the moment, you are present in the moment. And how did you feel after, which I could only assume is a roaring standing ovation? How did that feel?
It was incredible. So towards the end of my talk, I gave like a slight smirk. Like I like couldn't help it because it was just the sense of like I did this. And so I stepped off the stage. I stepped off at the red dot. Um, I just I stood there for a few seconds, and I took it all in, uh, and I got a standing ovation. I went backstage. I did a fist bump, and then I pretty much hugged every single person backstage.
Wow.
And then once like all of it calmed down, I took a few moments for myself because I was just overcome with emotion of what I just did and how far I come. And I was thinking of 21-year old James who would have never ever thought of giving a TED talk. And I was thinking of him and like how embarrassed he would have been to stutter that severely and that openly to a crowd full of strangers. And here I was at 26, being okay with it, embracing it, and celebrating what I just did, despite the fact that I was far from fluent. And just the amount of growth that I went through in the past 5 years was epitomized in that moment, and it just hit me afterwards, and I had to take a few minutes for myself.
That is truly amazing. I am so happy for you. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations on doing a TED Talk. That is a huge undertaking for anybody, but even more if you have a stutter. And so hopefully down the road, I will have a story for you when I do my TED Talk.
I would love to hear it.
All right. So Mr. Hayden, talk about your book titled Dear World, I Stutter. What was the inspiration for the book?
Inspiration for the book was actually my dream job not really working out and trying to figure out what my next step was. Uh, Being an author and like writing a book was something that I never thought I would ever do. It was not something I wanted to do. I didn't really write except for academic papers and the occasional thank you note. But back in February of 2017, I was a year and a half into what I thought was my dream job at my dream company, and I was miserable. And I knew I had to, to find something else, but I wasn't sure what that something else was. And so between February and March of 2017, I got the opportunity to guest lecture at a local university and participate in a panel a discussion about stuttering with the NSA chapter that I was with at the time. And through those two experiences, I realized that I liked talking about stuttering and that it was cathartic for me. So I decided to get my story out there just to see what could become of it, if anything. So I submitted my first article to the Mighty, and that got picked up in April of 2017. I got good feedback from it, and because of that feedback, I decided to write more. And the more I wrote, the more I enjoyed, writing about stuttering because it was just a cathartic for me. And I sent out different pieces to different agencies they got picked up, and I got a good feedback from it. And so the more I wrote, the more I like realized a lot of things I wanted to write could be in the form of an open letter. So summer of 17, I had this wild idea that maybe at some point far down the line, I would, write a book just because, why not? So the summer and fall of 2017, I would spend most of my nights and weekends just, writing and putting stuff out there and just seeing what could happen. And then in the fall of 2017, I left my job with no backup plan. So I moved back home, and I had all this free time. So I figured, why not? What's the worst thing that could happen? No one buys it. Okay, but I could say that I wrote a book. So I spent pretty much all of November of 2017 writing, editing, formatting, writing, editing, and formatting, writing, editing, and formatting. And on December 4th, 2017, I self-published my book, Dear World, I Stutter.
How cool. Wow. That's my next goal, life goal, bucket list goal. TED Talk, write a book. There was skydiving on there, but I did that last year and that was amazing. And so if you ever haven't done it, Mr. Hayden, I recommend skydiving because it pushes you to get out of your ultimate comfort zone, like the earth and the ground.
Yeah. That is something I want to do, is skydive at some point. That
Let me
is
tell you,
on the bucket list for sure.
yes, whatever you've heard about skydiving, that it's all this, all that, just remember that while you're up there, this the journey is quite short. However, when you jump, it is complete peace. It is the ultimate peaceful experience. You're just in the air and you're looking down. And granted, I did mine over in Galveston, Texas, right over the beach.
Mhm.
And so the water right under me, it was just beautiful. It was peaceful. And when we landed on the beach, we landed butt first. Oh, hold on.
Nice. I see what you did there. Nice pun.
However, the landing, it was so easy and extremely, it was light and easy, and it was just awesome, and I would do it over and over and over again. So a huge shout out to Skydive Galveston. Y'all were #awesome. So, okay, that was a little deviation. All right, so I am curious, what was the most difficult part about writing this book?
So outside of the time that was part of it, because I did everything on my own, it was the going there. It was dealing with things that I either didn't know that I had to deal with, or dealing with things that I thought I had, moved past, and 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 like already, made peace with. That was really difficult. And then another part was when I was writing the letter to my younger self, which is what I opened up the book with. It was, did I really, feel that way at the age of 10, or am I, placing my current thoughts on stuttering onto my 10-year-old self? And I think it's a little bit of both. More so the former, but I do think there is a little bit of like of my views on stuttering at the time being placed onto my 10-year-old self. I'd say those are the two hardest parts, and also being really uh, uh, vulnerable and open about my experiences with stuttering to people that I don't know will probably never meet, because I am a very private person, and to be this open about stuttering, that took a lot for me to do. Like, there was a lot of second guessing and seeing, do I really want to do this before I published the book.
Wow. That is, I mean, what you've done is just truly, I mean, you are helping other people who stutter through this book. Talk about the different chapters. These are letters to whom?
So it's two people that have been or will be on my journey with stuttering. Uh, so I do have the book right in front of me. So I open it with to my 10-year-old self, to my parents, to my sister, to my family, to my uncle that helped me realize that I should go back to speech therapy, to the first girl to see past my stutter, to my friends, to Camp Abbey, which is a camp in the New Orleans area where I worked as a summer counselor for 2 summers. And it was the best job that I've ever had. I made a bunch of friends there. And it was also the beginning of me accepting my stutter, was at Camp Abbey. Shout out to Camp Abbey. To my coworkers, to my teachers, to other people who stutter, to the parents of children who stutter, to my speech therapist, to future speech language pathologists, to my stutter, to strangers, to the first person to tell me I have nothing to apologize for, to the waiter who laughed at my stutter, to the first person that taught me that even though I stutter, I can still do great things, to the person who thought they were helping me, but they weren't, to the person who felt sorry for me because of my stutter, to my future wife, to my unborn children, and then I close it out with to my future self.
Wow. Wow. I mean, I got goosebumps. I'm like,
That was the first time I I I read the table of contents since I wrote it, and a couple of those letters I forgot that I've written. It's been a
so,
while.
so what was the highlight of writing this book?
I uh, I think the initial response, uh, that was really big. I think the opportunities that it's opened up for me, of allowing me to guest lecture to different universities. Uh, it's allowed me to blog for the Stuttering Foundation. It's opened up that door. But I think the biggest thing that I take pride in is that I'm telling other people who stutter that they're not alone. That I'm providing a resource for speech language pathologists, and that in my book and all that's come with it, it's allowed me the opportunity to be the person that I needed when I was younger, and that is someone to say that stuttering is okay, to say that stuttering isn't something to be embarrassed by, but it's one of the things that makes you you.
That is great. Now, let me ask you the $1 million question.
Go for it.
Is there a sequel to this book?
I've been in a bubble with work recently, and I just got out of that bubble. I had to take a certification exam for my job, so I spent the past a few months studying for that, and I took it 2 weeks ago, and I passed. So now that I'm out of that bubble, it has crossed my mind, and there is an open Word document on my computer entitled Book 2 Ideas. So I'm in like the early stages of like thinking about doing this again.
Super early.
Yeah, like it's titled, and it has 3 bullet points of different things I could write about. So it's not coming out anytime in the near future if this does happen.
All right. But first of all, congratulations on passing your exam.
Thank you.
For number one. And then for number two, we will all be awaiting the sequel to this book.
Thanks for the pressure. I appreciate it.
Okay, now, where can readers purchase your book?
So so you can buy it on Amazon, and I sent you the link. So I believe that would be in the show notes.
Perfect.
That's the best place to buy it. You can also buy it on barnesnobles.com, but Amazon is the best bet.
Well, thank you, James Hayden, for spending some more time with me. I truly appreciate it. I am just in awe of listening about your TED Talk and your book titled Dear World, I Stutter. I encourage everybody to go to Amazon and get that book, because let me tell you, there are lots of people out there to help other people who stutter. And Mr. James Hayden, you are at the top of that list. So I want to thank you for writing that book. There will be a link in the show notes for y'all. And James Hayden, it was a pleasure speaking with you again. And I know this is not our last conversation, because I wrote down schedule for book 2 launch.
Sounds good.
All right, Mr. Hayden, I hope you have an awesome day. Thank you for spending time with me.
You too, Pedro. Thank you again for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Be well.
You too.
There you have it. If you like this podcast, head on over to Apple iTunes, subscribe, rate, and review. You can follow me on all of my social media with my Stuttering Life. Thank you for listening, and we will talk again.